Stop. You are not failing to attract abundance. You are actively pushing it away, and you do not yet know it. This is a transmission from the Arcturian Council, delivered now because your financial field has already been identified. What you are about to hear is not encouragement, it is a diagnosis. By the end of this transmission, you will understand exactly why your financial flow has been blocked, what hidden pattern has been draining your abundance, and what the Arcturian Council already knows about this phase of your material life. But here is the first revelation. The money is not missing because you are not trying hard enough. It is missing because something inside your energetic field is coded to repel it before it can ever fully arrive. This is called a wealth-repulsion code. It is not a character flaw. It is not bad luck. It is an unconscious frequency signature embedded inside your field that pushes abundance away. At the exact moment it tries to reach you, you attract, you effort, you sacrifice, and still the money leaves, the opportunity collapses, the stability never holds. That is not failure. That is a repulsion pattern in active operation. The Arcturian Council has already mapped this frequency. They have already seen where the code was installed, how long it has been running, and what it has cost you. Tonight, the recalibration is not a ritual you have to perform. It is already being initiated at the operational layer of your field. Once the repulsion code is neutralized, abundance does not need to be chased. It simply stops being pushed away. The algorithm did not create this moment. It only delivered it. You were guided here because the pattern is already active. Like this transmission, if you know your struggle with money is deeper than bad luck. Comment 888 if you are ready to reopen the flow of abundance. Subscribe to Arcturian Gold Codex if you are ready to understand the pattern instead of blaming yourself. What has just been named inside you is not a new idea. It is a recognition. There is a difference. Ideas can be dismissed. Recognition settles into the body differently. It lands with a particular weight that resembles both relief and grief at once. The strange feeling of finally having language for something that has been happening to you for a long time without explanation. What you are feeling right now, if you are honest, is not surprise. It is confirmation. And that confirmation matters because it is the first signal that what is being transmitted here is not metaphor. It is diagnosis. The wealth-repulsion code introduced in this transmission is not a poetic name for ordinary misfortune. It is a precise description of a specific distortion operating inside your financial field. And the reason it has remained invisible to you until now is not because you are unintelligent or unaware. It is because this kind of pattern was never designed to be visible to the person carrying it. It was designed to look like bad timing, like circumstances, like the economy, the wrong market, the wrong moment, the wrong decisions. It was designed to feel like personal failure so thoroughly and convincingly that the person experiencing it would never think to look beneath the surface. It was engineered at the field level to feel exactly like you. That is what makes this pattern so durable. It does not announce itself. It disguises itself inside your own self-narrative. You begin to believe you are the problem. You begin to internalize the drain as a verdict on your character, your intelligence, your worthiness. You rehearse that verdict privately, late at night, after another month that ended the same way the last one did. You stop asking what is creating the pattern and begin accepting the pattern as proof of something broken inside you. That internalization is not weakness. It is what happens when a field-level distortion goes unnamed for long enough. The distortion becomes your identity. The pattern becomes your story. And once a person accepts a drain pattern as personal truth, they stop looking for what is actually causing it. They stop expecting different results, and the field, unchanged, unchallenged, still running on the original instruction, continues to produce exactly what it was coded to produce. The Arcturian Council does not diagnose your financial field in the way that a human system would evaluate income, spending, or circumstance. The diagnosis being transmitted here operates at a different layer entirely. What is being read is not your bank account. What is being read is the instruction set still governing your relationship to material flow, the energetic code beneath your behavior, beneath your decisions, beneath your beliefs, that tells abundance whether it is safe to land, whether it is permitted to stay, and whether stability is something your field is currently built to hold. Think of it as the hidden architecture beneath the visible structure of your financial life. You can repaint the walls, rearrange the furniture, work longer hours, and make smarter decisions. And the structure beneath still determines what can stand and what will fall. And what that scan consistently reveals in a large portion of those who find this transmission is not a lack of effort. It is a field still running on an older instruction that was never updated. This is the core of the first revelation. The money is not absent because you are not working. In many cases, the people who carry this distortion are among the hardest working individuals in their material environment. They are not passive. They are not lazy. They are not naive. They work, they sacrifice, they plan, they try. And the results still do not hold. They reach a certain threshold of improvement, and then something disrupts it. An expense appears, an opportunity falls through, a relationship creates a financial drain, a system breaks, a period of health interrupts income. Something always intervenes between the effort and the stability, and because the disruptions always arrive through different outer forms, they never look like the same pattern. They look like different problems requiring different solutions. The person keeps solving the surface while the underlying code continues operating beneath, untouched, unrecognized, intact. That is what a wealth-repulsion code does inside the field. It does not prevent all money from entering. That would be too obvious, too easy to identify. Instead, it allows enough money to arrive to sustain the illusion that progress is possible, and then it systematically destabilizes every attempt at consolidation. You receive, but you cannot retain. You build, but what you build does not hold. The vessel fills, and then something cracks it open, not at the base, where you could find it and repair it, but at the seam, where the old structure was never strong enough to hold what was being poured in. You get close, and then the field opens beneath you at exactly the wrong moment. This is not coincidence. This is a pattern with a readable structure, and the Arcturian diagnostic framework identifies it not as misfortune, but as field-level interference coded into the material layer of your energetic system. Some of you already know this pattern is not new to you. You have seen it in your parents. You watched someone you grew up near work their entire life without ever arriving at security. You observed sacrifice without reward, effort without accumulation, and you registered it, even before you had words for it, as a kind of law. Something that simply applied to people like you. Not people elsewhere, not people in other circumstances, but your people. Your line, your inherited category of what is possible. And that registration, that early unconscious conclusion about how material life operates for your family line, became part of the instruction set your field inherited. Scarcity does not only pass through DNA, it passes through observation, through emotional imprinting, through the unspoken agreements passed between generations about what is normal, what is safe, what is expected, and what is allowed. This is what the Arcturian framework calls an inherited scarcity line. It is not a metaphysical fantasy. It is the operating residue of repeated patterns of financial struggle, passed through a family system over multiple generations, compressed into an energetic instruction that the newer members of that lineage carry without awareness. When your grandmother survived on nothing, when your parents lived in perpetual financial tension, when the emotional vocabulary around money in your home was built on anxiety, shame, lack and scarcity, that vocabulary did not stay in the past. It installed itself as a baseline template in your field. It became the default setting, the assumed ceiling, the quiet expectation running beneath every financial decision you have ever made. And unless that template is named, seen, and addressed directly, it continues to filter every financial experience through the same instruction: wealth is unsafe. Abundance is temporary. Stability is something that happens to other people. Survival is the most that can be expected. What you are feeling right now is not ordinary frustration. It is the moment your system stops pretending this pattern is just bad luck. If this transmission put language around a financial struggle you have been carrying in silence, Arcturian Wealth Scan, the gold frequency audit, was created for this exact stage. It is not another promise of abundance. It is a direct audit of the hidden pattern affecting your material field, so you can begin to see whether the drain is rooted in inherited scarcity, guilt around wealth, energetic rejection, or an older financial instruction still shaping your results. The link is in the first pinned comment, but it will not remain there forever. There is a second layer to this pattern that is rarely discussed, and it may be the most disruptive of all the mechanisms operating inside a wealth repulsion code. It is not inherited scarcity alone. It is guilt. Specifically, it is the guilt that arises when abundance begins to arrive and the system registers it as a betrayal of those who never had it, a betrayal of the family narrative of struggle, a betrayal of the unspoken agreement that if the people who came before you could not hold wealth, it would be somehow disloyal, somehow wrong, somehow unsafe for you to do so. This guilt does not always announce itself as guilt. It does not arrive with a name. It disguises itself as sudden discomfort when things begin to improve, a strange restlessness when income increases, an urgency to spend what just arrived before it has the chance to stay, an unconscious tendency to generate new expenses, new emergencies, new disruptions precisely when the financial picture is beginning to stabilize. The pattern looks like self-sabotage from the outside, but at the field level, it is loyalty coding. The system pulling back from abundance because abundance feels like abandonment of the lineage, like crossing a threshold that your people were never permitted to cross, like leaving someone behind by simply refusing to remain in the same poverty they lived in. This is one of the most painful recognitions in this transmission, because it means that in some cases, the very love you carry for the people who struggled before you has been rewired inside your field as a mechanism against your own prosperity. The care, the connection, the unconscious loyalty to people whose lives were defined by lack, all of it has been folded into a code that says, if they could not have this, I should not have it either. Not as a conscious thought, not as something you would ever choose if given the choice clearly, as a field-level instruction running silently beneath every financial decision, every moment of opportunity, every threshold of potential stability. It operates below the level of intention. It operates in the gap between what you want and what you allow. The Arcturian diagnostic does not view this as weakness. It does not view it as ingratitude or failure of will. It views it as a coherent pattern with a specific origin that can be traced, named, and ultimately corrected. But it must be seen first. And what this transmission is doing right now is creating the initial conditions for that seeing. Because a pattern that has been running in the dark for decades cannot be addressed from the same level of awareness that allowed it to remain invisible. It requires a different kind of light, and that light is precisely what is being transmitted here. The third mechanism inside the wealth repulsion code is what the Arcturian framework identifies as threshold collapse. This is the pattern that is perhaps most recognizable to those who have been living inside financial instability for extended periods. It is the experience of approaching a moment of breakthrough, a job offer, a financial windfall, a business gain, a period of positive momentum, and then watching something appear to prevent it from completing. The disruption does not always take the same form. Sometimes it is an unexpected expense that arrives at exactly the wrong moment. Sometimes it is a relationship conflict that creates material damage. Sometimes it is a health issue, a technical failure, a sudden external circumstance that materializes at precisely the moment when consolidation was within reach. And the particular cruelty of this pattern is not that it prevents all progress. It is that it allows progress right up to the threshold and then removes the ground. You can see where you were going, you were almost there, and then something happened. Again, as it has happened before, as it has happened so many times that part of you has stopped fully trusting any momentum because somewhere beneath your hope, the field already anticipates the collapse. The Arcturian field analysis consistently identifies threshold collapse as a marker of an abundance field that has not yet been recalibrated to hold what is arriving. The old instruction, the one still running beneath the viewer's material life, has a tolerance level for financial reality. It allows a certain degree of improvement. It permits forward movement up to a point, and the moment that improvement begins to exceed the threshold of what the old code is programmed to permit, the field initiates a correction, not out of malice, out of familiarity. The system defaults to what it knows, and what it knows is the old range of material experience. What it knows is the level of financial life that was established before you had any awareness that the level itself was a setting, not a fact. The fourth recognition concerns what abundance actually feels like inside a distorted field. And this is where many people are most confused, because they expect abundance to feel comfortable, natural, and easy when it begins to arrive. They expect relief. They expect the body to relax, the mind to settle, the persistent low-frequency anxiety about money to finally quiet. But inside a field still governed by a wealth-repulsion code, the first signs of increased material flow do not feel like relief. They feel like threat. The nervous system registers incoming stability as a foreign state, unfamiliar, unearned, precarious in ways that cannot be named, but can be felt with absolute clarity. And because the body has been calibrated for so long to the frequency of lack, the arrival of the opposite frequency triggers an alarm response. It feels wrong. It feels unsafe. It feels like something must be about to go wrong, because in the history of this field, improvement has always preceded collapse. The body remembers that. The field remembers that. And so the alarm sounds not to protect against danger, but to protect against hope, because hope, inside a distorted field, has always been followed by something that hurts. That feeling, rather than being recognized as a signal of field recalibration, is interpreted as a warning, and the system moves to eliminate the unfamiliar state by recreating what is known: loss, drain, disruption, the return to the baseline the field has been programmed to protect, not because the person chooses it, because the field, operating on its older instruction, does not yet have a different program to run. This is why some people find that the more they try to change their financial life, the more disoriented they feel when change actually begins. They interpret the discomfort of a new frequency as evidence that it is not real, or that it will not last, or that the other shoe is about to drop. And so they unconsciously begin to create the conditions for the discomfort to end, which means creating the conditions for the new stability to collapse, not because they do not want abundance, because their field has not yet learned that abundance is a state it is safe to inhabit. The fifth mechanism operating inside this pattern is one that the Arcturian framework calls material field depletion. This is distinct from ordinary financial difficulty in both its texture and its cause. It is the specific condition that arises after years, sometimes decades, of operating inside a wealth-repulsion code, when a field has been running on inherited scarcity, guilt coding, threshold collapse, and frequency mismatch for an extended period. The energetic capacity to hold material flow begins to erode. The channel through which abundance is meant to move narrows. The walls of that channel thin, the retention structures of the field weaken, until even what does arrive passes through too quickly to accumulate. And what this produces in lived experience is the feeling that even small amounts of money become difficult to hold, that even minor financial progress feels exhausting to sustain, that the effort required to remain at even a baseline of stability seems wildly disproportionate to what should reasonably be required to simply survive. You are not imagining that exhaustion. It is real. It is the felt consequence of a field that has been working against its own material capacity for a very long time. This is not a sign that the person has given up or is no longer capable. It is a sign that the field has been under sustained interference pressure and is exhibiting the energetic equivalent of structural fatigue. A foundation that has been subjected to repeated seismic disruption does not fail because it was poorly built. It fails because nothing was ever done to address the source of the disruption. The Arcturian High Council identifies this stage not as a final verdict, but as a critical diagnostic marker. It is the point at which the old instruction is most visible, because the field is no longer able to compensate for it or hide it beneath surface effort. And it is also, paradoxically, the point at which recalibration becomes most accessible, because the distortion is finally close enough to the surface to be read, named, and directly addressed. The sixth and perhaps most misread pattern operating inside a wealth-repulsion code is what happens in the period just before a financial shift. It does not feel like a shift approaching. It feels like acceleration of the very pattern that has been causing pain. More loss arrives, more disruption, more evidence that nothing is working, that the recognition is not accurate, that the effort to understand the pattern has changed nothing at all. And this leads many people to conclude that they were wrong to hope, wrong to engage, wrong to believe that what they were experiencing had a structure beneath it that could be addressed. They abandon the process at precisely the moment when the old code is most actively resisting correction, when it is, in fact, losing its grip and generating pressure as a last defense. The escalation is not evidence of failure, it is evidence of movement. It is the field's final attempt to restore the old instruction to dominance before the recalibration takes hold. A code that has been embedded for years, sometimes for generations, does not release quietly. It increases pressure as it is dislodged, and the viewer who understands this will not be frightened out of the threshold they are standing at. They will recognize the escalation for what it is, the final activation of the old instruction before it loses governing authority over the material field. This is the transmission the Arcturian High Council delivers, not to comfort you, but to prepare you. The pattern running inside your financial life is not proof of your worthlessness. It is not a verdict on your capacity or your value or your future. It is an older code installed through lineage, through experience, through the unconscious architecture of a life built inside inherited scarcity, and it has been operating without your conscious participation for long enough. The Arcturian scan does not view what you are experiencing as ordinary bad luck. It views it as a readable pattern with a specific structure, a traceable origin, and a correctable distortion at its core. You have not been failing. You have been operating inside a field that was configured before you understood that fields could be configured. Every drain, every collapse, every moment of frustration where effort did not produce the result it deserved, none of that was random. All of it was the visible surface of a pattern that is now, in this moment, being exposed to a different kind of light. The fact that you are still here, still trying, still searching for a deeper explanation than bad luck or personal failure, that persistence is not desperation. It is your field signaling that the diagnosis is incomplete, that the surface explanation has never been sufficient, that something beneath the visible story has always known that the real cause had not yet been named. What was once invisible is now being named, and what is named can be addressed. That is not a small thing. That is the beginning of the only kind of change that goes deep enough to be permanent. Not the kind of change that adjusts the symptoms while leaving the code intact. Not the kind of change that produces temporary improvement, followed by another collapse. The kind of change that rewrites the instruction itself, that reaches the layer beneath behavior, beneath belief, beneath the stories you have carried about who you are in relation to money, and corrects the distortion at its actual source. If there is something you carry from this transmission, let it be this. You are not watching this message because you are broken. You are watching it because the pattern is already active enough to draw you here, and because some part of your field already knows that recognition is the first threshold of correction. The Arcturian High Council does not deliver transmissions to those who are beyond reach. They deliver transmissions to those who are ready. Not ready in the sense of having everything resolved. Not ready in the sense of certainty or clarity or the absence of pain, but ready in the sense of no longer being able to continue pretending that the pattern is something other than what it is. Ready in the sense that the old explanation has finally worn through, and what is left beneath it is the raw willingness to look at the actual structure. Say this once, clearly, and mean it. I no longer confuse the pattern with my identity. That is not a ritual. It is a reorientation. It is the moment you draw a line between what has been happening to your field and who you actually are beneath the field. The pattern is not you. The inherited scarcity line is not your nature. The guilt coding is not your loyalty. The threshold collapse is not your ceiling. These are distortions that found a home in your field before you had the language to recognize them as distortions. And it is from that line of separation, not from shame, not from frustration, not from the accumulated weight of years spent inside an unexplained drain, that everything after this becomes possible. Before you scroll, leave one sign in the comments that this pattern has already touched your financial life. It could be money that never stays, sudden drains, repeated setbacks, guilt when things begin to improve, or the feeling that stability always slips away. Name it clearly. If this transmission recognizes something you have been carrying in silence, share it with someone who works hard but still feels trapped in an invisible cycle of lack. And if you are ready to understand the pattern instead of blaming yourself, subscribe to Arcturian Gold Codex. You are not watching this by accident. You are recognizing a pattern already in motion, and this is only the beginning.